All right, good morning, traders. Today is February 2nd, 2026. My name, Coach Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you for following, liking, and subscribing to my content. Following as well, yeah. Thank you for everybody that shares it. Special shout out, Bob Jordan, John Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roasted for sharing the content, helping get the good word out there to the World Wide Web. Appreciate that. Love that. All right, let's get started for today. My SPY pivot. Oh, wait, I got an announcement. I got one announcement. Okay, so today and tomorrow, Road to Wealth workshop, trading workshop live, Monday and Tuesday. All right, from 8:30 to 4. Take your smartphone, scan that QR code. You get a little pop-up, press the pop-up. You'll get a link that opens up in your browser. Fill out that registration page, and they will email you your credentials to get into the room, as well as the directions on how to get there. If you don't see that in your email, most likely it will be in your spam folder. All right, there you go, Rick. He's the founder of Hit and Run Candlesticks, all right? So should be a good workshop there, February 2nd and 3rd. That's today and tomorrow. All right, let's dig into the markets. Okay, so my SPY pivot today, 690.90. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. SPY made an inside day, closing under a bullish trap, but over the 17 EMA. Inside day is a lower high and a higher low. QQQ made an inside day too. Lower high, higher low. Closing under a bullish trap under the 17 EMA. Diamond Dow, lower high, lower low. Closing under a bearish trap and under the flat 17. IWM, lower high and lower low as well. Closing under a bearish trap under the rising 17. Stinker made an inside day as well. Closing under a bearish cross and under the falling 17. SPY closed with a 2-hour downtrend and a weak 2-candle 10-minute uptrend. So not very much of an uptrend. Okay. SLV, lower low, lower high, closing under a bearish cross and under the rising 17. Gold, lower low, lower high, closing under a bullish trap and under the rising 17. USO in an uptrend, made a lower high and a lower low, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. UNG, higher high, higher low, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. US dollar index still in a daily downtrend, closed near the 97.15 area, making a little bit of a comeback. It closed at, I think, 96.20 something, I think, last time. But anyway, so it's moving up. Moved up about a whole dollar there. All right, SPY max pain is 693 with a put to call ratio of about 1.3 puts for each call that expires today at 4:15. We do have some big market cap reporting this week. I think it's Google. I think that's about $8 trillion in market cap. I think they report Wednesday. I'm not for certain. We will take a look at it. By the way, this week, okay. So I got the bulls right here. These are all in daily uptrends over the 17 EMA. If you see them under the bulls column. And if they got a little star, they're building out a launch pad from which to launch higher. These are all in daily downtrends under the 17. If they got a little star, they're building out a bear flag or a platform from which to dive lower. Okay, so over the 17 and moving up, under the 17 and moving down. Okay, in case you're looking for something else to swing on the way. All right, let's take a look at the markets today. Start off with SPY. Let's take a 10-minute chart. And this looks a little too busy. Okay, so let's start with this. Let's start with this one right here. And we'll go to the 10. The 10. All right, so yesterday, see, 2-candle uptrend with the 3 EMA up over the 8 EMA. Let me give you the lay of the land here, okay? So this burnt orange line right here, that's VWAP. This thin yellow line that seems to track the candles, That's the 3 EMA, all right? The white line that tends to track the candles, that's the 8 EMA, okay? The dots are the 17 EMA, all right? So they'll be green if price is above it and red if price is below. You got 2 pink lines or purple lines, depends on if I fatten them up. But if you got, well, this one is the all-time high anchored VWAP up above. Down here is the pullback low right there. Okay, so we're waffling back and forth between the two. You can see them like ping-ponging in there. All right, so there's 10-minute week 2 candle, 10-minute uptrend coming into the close, all right, on the 2-hour chart. Back to the lay of the land, okay? We've got barely visible. The 3 EMA is underneath the 8 EMA here, so we got the sticks and the 3 under the 8, so we got a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. That's on Friday. On the daily chart, okay, so on the daily chart, we've got a lower high, a higher low, closing under the bullish trap. Okay, see right underneath the bullish trap right here. Okay, so under the bullish trap, but over, see the dots? The 17 EMA, okay? So caught in between there. Okay, put the quad lines back up there. Move this all the way out. This is our April low. This is our all-time high up here. Not a very significant higher high. So when that happens, it's like look out below, all right? So just, we could have a sell-off. I don't know. We'll see. We're still bullish up here at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, so that's still bullish. Nothing's broken yet. Still bullish and in an uptrend there on SPY daily chart. Weekly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. Monthly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at the game plan. Come over here to the 15-minute chart. Game plan for today. Scrunch it up a little bit. All right, on the game plan, we got green erases red. Okay, right over that, see this brick of candles up here where the top seems to just stop? So over 693.80. Okay, over 694, over 693.80. If we get candles closed up there, that's an entry, all right, for green erases red on a bullish move up. Okay, they're going to close candles up there, hold that area, or keep moving, either way. SPY pivot, 690.90. So above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Right now, things kind of just chomping around in between those two all-time high anchored, between those two anchored VWAPs. All right, that's where price is currently. Okay, just ping-ponging back and forth between the two. All right, so on the south side, we've got red erases green underneath 688.50. So you can see we get down into these tails down here. We could start coming down a little bit lower. Just going to draw a trend line in here so you can see it clearly. All right, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to park it up on the top right there. And I'm going to slam this down right on top of those candles. Okay, in the post-market, well, excuse me, in the pre-market, we had some price action that got up around here. And we had a pullback. All right, in the pre-market. So we'll see what happens. Currently, we've got consolidation underneath consolidation. Okay, you can see right here. And I'll draw that same trend line in one more time. All-time high right through there. Okay, you can see there's the touch right over there. So we got consolidation under prior consolidation, but we have a 10-minute uptrend. I like to see a continuation of the 10-minute uptrend. I don't know if we're going to get it, okay, but I like to see a continuation of the 10-minute uptrend. I actually think we might get it, all right, until the 10-minute chart breaks the bearish 10-minute rubber band candle on the southern side, and the point of interest is going to be my VWAP. That's the burnt orange line, okay? So if we break that, look out below, okay? We're probably coming down to check out this low and this low right here. I am seeing descending highs, okay? So you got an all-time high here, okay? And then we got a lower high here. And then we got another lower high here. And then we got another lower high here. And now we got another lower high in the post-market and another lower high right here in the pre-market, okay? Typically when this happens, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, price rolls over to the downside, okay? So I'm just preparing you for that. So what we need price to do, because we're bullish, well, I'm bullish, on the daily time frame and on the weekly time frame and on the monthly time frame, because all the bigger time frames are still bullish, okay? But I can't get bullish until they start breaking some of these highs, okay? Other than that, kind of just sitting tight, waiting for something to break lower and make a new lower low, okay? So it's kind of chomping around. Again, we've got those two, got the all-time high anchored VWAP up here that price seems to ping off of. And then we've got the pullback low anchored VWAP from down here, which price seems to ping off of that one. So they just keep ping-ponging back and forth between the two. So like to see a lower low or a higher high so I could trade something. But right now, I kind of just got to wait and see where the breakout occurs. Right now, it's looking like it's probably going to happen on the south side based on lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and again, lower high. Typically when it does that, it does seem to roll over. How far it rolls over, it could roll over to here, could roll over to here, could roll over past that, all the way down to 670, 660. We'll see. You saw what happened with the silver market yesterday. Okay? Could see the same thing in the SPY today or the QQQ. Just fair warning, okay? Because I want you to be prepared. I don't want to see you lose money. All right? That's what I don't want to see, okay? Because you start losing money, you're not going to like trading. So, I just want to warn you. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. We need to start breaking some of these lower highs so we can retain our bullishness, all right? Other than that, I'm going to just kind of sit tight and watch for the rollover. As soon as it breaks, I'll probably trade that as price breaks through this area right here, the 687.50 area, or the 680, actually, yeah, right below this 687 area. I'd be interested in trading that to the downside, okay? So that's kind of my plan. I'm going to sit tight to see if they can break something, and then I want to get involved, all right? Other than that, that's it for SPY. That's my plan for this morning. Unless we start breaking some highs, then I can get bullish, all right? But we got to break some highs. We haven't done it in a while, so I just got to kind of sit tight and wait for price action to play out, see what the institutions want to do. So that's SPY. Let's go take a look at QQQ. So QQQ got a game plan as well. All right, so we take a look at that. Let me put it on the 15 and let me open it up a little bit. All right, QQQ game plan. Let's slide this over. Kind of got it on the wrong one here, but I can fix that. Chart properties. There we go. Okay, and slide it back over one more time. Okay, QQQ pivot, 624.30. Okay, so above that I'm a bull, below that I'm a bear. Red erases green, underneath 620. Same thing applies. See these lower highs on QQQ? Same thing going on here, all right? So below 620, you know, I might be a bear. I don't know how far it'll go. Maybe it goes, you know, $1 and reverses. I don't know. Maybe it comes all the way down to check out this breakup candle low. That would be a popular place for it to go. Or even down to See that peak between the two valleys? That would be a popular place for it to go. We'll see what happens, okay? So there's QQQ. Okay, so green erases red over 628.20, right up here. All right. I like on both QQQ and SPY, okay? It's the same thing every single day. I like Friday options on the multiple of 5. It's a Monday, so it's going to be 4 DTE and 11 DTE Friday options on the multiple of 5. Specifically, both QQQ and SPY here, specifically for the open interest, all right? I like a lot of open interest. I like a tight bid-ask spread. I don't want to get a lot of slippage when I get stopped out. That's my reasons for trading that. I like strikes $2 to $15 out of the money. And they don't perform as well as the in-the-money options, but I do have less risk on the table than someone who's buying in-the-money options. You will pay up for those in-the-money options, but you will get penny for penny performance. I would like penny for penny performance, but I don't need penny for penny performance, all right, for it to tie up all of my capital that I'm going to be trading today. So for that reason, I choose to trade out of the money options because I'm only risking 10% of my capital today, all right? That's it, no more than that. It's what I've been doing now for the last 3 months, risking no more than 10%. A lot of times I don't even have 10%. Sometimes I don't even have 5%, okay? So I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, and I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. My favorite trade is a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, all right, that resides inside the 2-hour uptrend. And we don't have a 2-hour uptrend, okay? And that resides inside the daily uptrend, inside the weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend. And keep in mind, on all the bigger time frames, we still have uptrends, all right? So daily, weekly, monthly, all in uptrends, okay? So I like that trade, that 10-minute over VWAP, especially when it's up and above the all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, that's my ultimate favorite trade right there. Okay, so I'll be looking for that to manifest today. It may not, okay? We'll see what happens. So there's QQQ. We'll look at the 10-minute here on QQQ. Let's go to a cleaner chart. All right, let's pick up the 10. Again, same thing as SPY, a very weak, because it's under VWAP. 2 candle, okay, 3 is up over the 8. 2 candle uptrend on the 10-minute chart. That's what we closed with on Friday. To me, that looks like more like bearish consolidation. On the 2-hour chart, we've got, notice the sticks and the 3 are riding underneath the 8. That's the white line. Okay, so we have ourselves a 2-hour downtrend. Okay, so no 2-hour uptrend in SPY, no 2-hour uptrend in QQQ. On the daily chart, okay, an inside candle. Okay, so that means a lower high from the day before that and a higher low from the day before that. Okay, so we closed under, you can see this is, the yellow line is up over the white one, so that's a bullish trap, but we closed under the bullish trap and under the dots, so that's under the 17 EMA right there. But we didn't break any lows yet, okay? So if we break this low, we start a downtrend. Right now, still in an uptrend that's just not moving up. It's having a little pullback right now, and that's okay because last time we had a pullback, we made a brand new all-time high. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, a weekly chart on QQQ, just like SPY, see all the green dots. It's in an uptrend. I can put the quad lines. Here's our April low. There's our all-time high right here. Okay, we came close, but we didn't make one. I don't think so. So weekly's in an uptrend. Again, daily, okay, up there. Top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. Here's our April low, still bullish and in an uptrend on QQQ. Weekly, bullish and in an uptrend. Monthly, yep, same thing. See all the green dots? Bullish and in an uptrend on the bigger time frames, okay? So I'm not a big fan of trading short, but we already had one down day. So after we get one down day, I can trade short. That's what I like to do. Okay, either that or if we break something, I can trade short. But just to have a pullback in a down in an uptrend on the bigger time frames, it doesn't. I don't like playing counter trend. A lot of times they wind up stealing my lunch, so I don't like that. So there's QQQ. Okay, bullish and in an uptrend, daily, weekly, monthly. Same thing on SPY. Bullish and in an uptrend, daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, so you can see on the bigger time frames still bullish. Let's take a look at IWM. We'll look at it on the daily chart. Okay, there's the all-time high for IWM. Okay, IWM's candle Friday. Lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap. Okay, so the 3 is under the white line. That's the 8. So under a bearish trap. Okay, and under, see the dots? Under the 17. We didn't break anything yet. This would be the thing to break. That would be a lower low. Okay, this is the first low. Below the 17 is over here. Okay, so IWM still up here in the middle of quadrant 4, so that's still bullish. It's in the upper third. Here's our April low. So we're still bullish, and we haven't broken anything, and we're still in an uptrend. Okay, so there's IWM. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. And on Diamond Dow, did they make a lower low? Low here is 484.24. Low here is 484.56. No, they did not. Okay, but they put in a lower high and a lower low, closed under a bearish trap, and notice they closed under a red dot, so under the 17. Okay, still at the top of quadrant 4. So that's bullish, okay, and still retaining the uptrend because they did not make a lower low. That's Diamond Dow. Again, here's our April low, and there is our all-time highs up there, okay? So there's Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at Stinker. All right, for Stinker, got an inside candle, another inside candle. Seemed to be a popular trend on Friday. Higher low, lower high, closing underneath. See how the 3 crosses? So that's a bearish cross. Okay, so crosses under the white. So that's a bearish cross. So inside day, okay, closing under the bearish cross. See the red dots under, see how they fall? Under the falling 17. Under the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, notice this is the midpoint. Here's our April low. There's our all-time high. Okay, so the upper third would roughly be about right there. I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not positive. Okay, so definitely not in the upper third. So this is just neutral. All right, and they have not made a higher high yet. So they're still in a downtrend. Okay, on Stinker. All right, so we need this. This is the one that has the big cap stocks, all right, which are very heavily weighted inside the QQQ and SPY. And when these 10 or the Mag 7 start moving as a pack of wolves, okay, they can drag those 2 indexes right along with them. Right now, they're not moving in concert right now, okay? So right now they're kind of melting off right now, okay? So we'll see. Maybe this will be the higher low that starts the next uptrend. We'll see. All right. Again, we're going to need a higher high to prove that. Okay. So there's FNGU on the daily chart. Okay, in a downtrend and just neutral right there. Let's take a look at silver and gold. So silver, after putting in the middle finger up here, okay, the sword with the business end pointed up, okay, that equates to a rollover, decided they were going to fake everybody out, all right, and do a 3-candle uptrend, do another 3-candle push, all right. But if you were watching the PPO, all right, you would have noticed that on the 2-hour chart, not the PPO, the VZO, Okay, on the 2-hour chart, you need the VZO. Okay, if you were watching the VZO, you would have seen that the second push did not breach the high. Okay, there's your middle finger. All right, that's the silver market giving you the middle finger, giving you the second push. And notice on the VZO, the second push does not surpass the VZO high up here. Okay, and what you got is a false high. You've got a bearish divergence. Okay, price makes a higher high, but the VZO does not. Okay, therefore, you can see here's the fallout from that, all of that liquidity up there, just blast down. Okay, so if you were watching the 2-hour, you would have been prepared for this. Okay, if you were in the BYOB Trading Room, you would have also been prepared for it, because I said I'm shorting silver right here and I'm buying the ZSL. Okay, so either way, knowledge or be a member. Okay, either one works for me. So there's silver on the daily chart. Okay, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish cross, under the rising 17 EMA right there. Clearly not in the upper quadrant, clearly not in the upper third. Okay, so just neutral, but did they break a lower low? Here's the low here is 66.92. Neutral and still in an uptrend, believe it or not, on the daily chart. Okay, because this is the first low that you come to right here, and I'm not even so sure that breaks the 17. I'll have to scoot in there and see if that, got to put the crosshairs. 66, I don't even think that one breaks the 17. So still in an uptrend, neutral and still in an uptrend on the daily chart for silver. Okay, so I'm just teaching you something, all right, so that you can recognize when someone does this after giving you the middle finger, you can give it right back to them, all right, by watching that VZO on the 2-hour, okay, and identifying the failure to make a higher high, okay, on the VZO, and lo and behold, what happens? Yeah, huge melt off, okay, so there's silver. Let's go take a look at gold. Gold on the daily chart, similar to silver, but not quite as horrible. Lower high, lower low, closing under a bullish trap as opposed to the bearish cross. Closing under the rising 17. Didn't make any lower lows. Well, here's the first one that goes below the 17 is way down here. So we're still in an uptrend. And gold is still in the upper third, so it's still bullish and in an uptrend, believe it or not, even with that big down day yesterday. Okay, they didn't break anything, and they're still in the upper third. Remember, here's our 2022 low. This is the origin of the move, okay, and this is our all-time high. So we're still bullish and in an uptrend, okay, just not moving up. All right, I'll call it a pullback in the uptrend. Same thing on silver, a pullback in the uptrend. Okay, so there's gold and silver. Let's take a look at UNG. Look at that candle on UNG. See, this is the last time we got a middle finger from UNG. Okay, you see it? And what happened? We made an all-time low. See the middle finger? Okay, bam, comes all the way down here. All right, I'm just telling you. You see the sword that sticks? You got the business end is sticking straight up into the sky. Okay, that's a warning. Okay, they need to erase that, which they did on silver. But if you watch in the VZO, you see clearly the volume wasn't there, it was like a false top, all right? It was a setup. It was a bull trap, what it was, okay? So there's UNG right there, okay? So here's UNG here. Now, if you get a red candle that erases that, all right, that's the same thing as the sword. Let me explain why, because this is the pre-market right here, okay? The only difference between this and this with red candle that comes down is that this happened within 24 or 12 hours. This is the same as that, only they're spreading it out between 2 trading days. Okay? It's the same middle finger. All right? So be careful. All right? On UNG. Okay? Notice it's down here. That would be a bearish engulfing candle. If you drew it in there, in other words, you took price from where it closed on Friday and drew in the red line because price came from that high down to this low. It can't be green because it started here and it ended here. So it's got to be red. So that would be bearish engulfing right there. Okay, so there's UNG on the daily chart. Okay, and you can see higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap, over the rising 17, okay, over the 12-month high, anchored VWAP, okay, not, okay, clearly up here in the neutral zone, because no longer is it in the lower 1/3, that would be bearish down there. So it's in an neutral and in an uptrend. Okay, but you can see what happens. See this? Starting out way down here today. Okay, so there's UNG on the daily chart. Uptrend and neutral. All right, we'll see where it closes today. If it closes in the lower third, it's going to be bearish by tomorrow. We'll see what happens. That's UNG. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO, Friday's candle, lower high, lower low. Closing, all right, over the bullish trap, over the rising 17, over the 4-year high anchored VWAP. That's our post-COVID high. This is the COVID 2020. Everybody remember 2020, okay? This is our post-COVID rally. So that's the post-COVID, that is the high that was produced after, the post-COVID rally. And there's the anchored VWAP off that high. Okay, so we're over that 4-year high anchored VWAP now. You can see we go up many times, all right, after breaking through there, but we still seem to give it up every time we go up. See the multiple times we come back down to this 4-year high anchored VWAP. Of course, here it was only a 2-year high anchored VWAP, and then here it was a 3, and here's a 4, so now it's a 4-year high anchored VWAP. Okay, they broke the downtrend. Nice work on the bulls there for USO. Okay, again, you're clearly getting a pullback. All right, so just watch that. All right. That was bullish up there. You can see they're closing below the lower third. I'm going to take this out because you don't need it anymore. You can see clearly they're closing below it. So this will be neutral down here if they close down here. If they close in the upper third, that's going to be bullish. As we leave off Friday, it was bullish and in an uptrend. Okay? So there's USO. Let's take a look at the dollar index. And that's not the one I want. Let's try this one. Not the one I want. Let's try this one. There we go. All right, here's our 2025 high for the US dollar index. Okay? Goes into a downtrend. Then goes into a big bear flag. The bulls try to break out of the bear flag. Notice they fail. Okay, there's the high of the flag. They failed. Because they failed, now we have to go check out the lows to see if the lows are still going to hold. Okay, looking like the lows are holding right now. So we probably consolidate more, okay, in this bear flag if these lows hold, or we roll over and make new lower lows. We'll see. This is the US dollar index. Kind of keep an eye on this because it's kind of has a lot to do with inflation. Okay, we get paid in dollars, all right, from our employers or from our retirements, either one. Okay, so, or from the government, you know, with our Social Security. All right, so you got a downtrend. Okay, so you notice when we have a weak dollar, okay, our money doesn't go as far as it used to last year or 2 years ago. Okay, just doesn't go as far, costs us more due to the inflation and due to a weak dollar. Okay, so weak dollar, we don't really care for it as a consumer, but as an investor, what happens when you get a weak dollar is it opens up new markets for the companies that headquarter in the USA, okay, that are on the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. All right, so what happens is when they are open to new markets because of a weaker dollar, okay, it means that foreign countries are able to purchase our goods and services and not pay as much as what they cost 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And hence, we become more competitive in the global markets, all right? And when we start bringing in more revenue from foreign countries, that usually transcends down to the bottom line as earnings, all right, which tend to give us a higher multiple or a higher per share price because we're making more than what we used to last year. In other words, earnings are growing, okay? And that's why you're seeing a lot of these companies make new all-time highs. That's why you're seeing T2123 making new all-time highs, okay? This has a lot to do with the dollar as well as the rally. Okay, so there's the US dollar. Let's take a look at T2101. Let me see if I can get over there. These are our technicals. Okay, you notice the market goes high, but we keep getting thinner and thinner in participation or market breadth. Okay, see that? Just keeps getting thinner and thinner up there. Okay, getting less and less participation. That's bearish, right? That means there's no buyers up there. I mean, what you're going to probably see is a possible rollover. We'll see what happens, T2101. T2122. Well, we camped out. We actually came down and made a visit in the sell zone. The only good news is we wound up closing above the sell zone, making a higher low on the 15-minute chart. Here's a low. We made a higher low, and we closed in the seller's chop zone, closer to the midpoint, which is this gold line in the middle. That's about the only good news there is right there, okay? Still underneath this downtrend line, obviously. Okay, so I'd like to see us break the downtrend line, maybe close some in the buyer's chop zone. I'll take the buy zone, either one, okay? Or close over the midpoint. That would be nice. Till then, things are kind of melting off right now. T2122. So slightly on the short-term time frame, bearish, okay? On the short term. And this is a 15-minute chart. Okay, so T2123. Still bull flagging at the top near the all-time highs. This is T2123. Still over the rising 200 SMA. That's bullish. This would be our all-time high, would be that candle right there. That's our all-time high. Okay, we're making lower highs. We're making lower highs. We left off. Not quite making lower lows. We got a high here. We made a lower high. We have a low here, and we made a lower low. So we left off in a downtrend. Okay, because there's a high. We didn't break that high. Okay, we would have needed to break that high. Instead, We've got some lows right through here. We made a lower low. So not very big lower lows. Okay, you can see just a couple of candles below that. So we made lower lows. So they clearly didn't make higher highs. So they're in a downtrend on the 15-minute time frame. But if you back out, that's a huge bull flag holding that higher ground. That's actually bullish. Just 15-minute is in a downtrend right there in T2123. So let's look at the bigger time frame. Here's the 3-bar chart. Let me give you the lay of the land. Here's our April low. That was our all-time high right there. Okay? After making this lower low, we went up and we made a new all-time high here in September. Okay? So that was the all-time high. We made a higher high. So September became the new higher high. Okay? Pulled back to the neckline of the head and shoulders pattern. You can see a little mini head and shoulders pattern. Okay, we bounced off of that, consolidated over the flat 200, and did a measured move to the upside with a bonus. Okay, wound up making a new all-time high here, like I said, about 3 or 4 days ago, trading days ago. Okay, and they're still holding that higher ground. That's a show of strength, okay? Let me just say, if Stinker can get its act together, we could get some new all-time highs. We'll see what happens. But that's T2123, 3-bar chart. Okay, so that's in quadrant 4, so that's bullish. Okay, they haven't made any lower lows and in an uptrend right there. Okay, look at Stinker on the 15. All right, Stinker on the 15 got here's our 15-minute chart. We're still trapped underneath the 200 SMA. We tried to regain it. We failed. All right, and from there, we made a low, and then we made a lower low. So 15 in a downtrend there. All right, on FNGU and T2123. And then we're consolidating underneath it right here. Okay, so that's a bearish outlook. All right, bearish bias right there. All right, let's take a look at the economic package, then we're going to wrap this up. All right, so start off with Max Payne, 693. Let me refresh it. They'd like to change it on me. See that? You see that right there, 692. All right, so 692 is Max Payne now. All right, good thing I did that. Okay, looks like 1.2 puts the call, puts for each call that expires today at 4:15. Remember, those index options expire at 4:15. Those security options expire at 4. Okay, so there's Max Payne for the day. Okay, economic calendar. Okay, let's start off. PMI manufacturing final today at 9:45. ISM manufacturing index 10 o'clock. Okay, tomorrow motor vehicle sales, that usually comes out at 6:30 or 7. All right, JOLTS is coming out at 10. And on Wednesday, I'm just going to go as far as Wednesday. MBA mortgage applications at 7. ADP employment report, that'll be interesting, 8:15. Treasury refunding announcement, 8:30. PMI composite final, 9:45. ISM services index. So this is the manufacturing index. This is the services index. This comes out at 10. And we got a petroleum report at 10:30 right there. Okay, let me just look forward. All right, the main event's going to be the employment situation. That's a market mover. Usually comes out at the beginning of the month at 8:30 on Friday. That is a market mover right there. Okay, for you guys that trade futures, all right, or indexes, right there, 8:30. That's a market mover, so be ready for that. All right, so let's go take a look at the earnings. Come on, boys. All right, so Palantir is going to report tonight, 361 billion. Walt Disney reports this morning, 197 billion. Mizuho Financial, all right, I probably mispronounced that, 108 billion. Still looking for the P&L. Okay, everybody else, just familiar names. Okay, Tyson, Teradyne. Okay, you've all heard of them. Woodward, Fabrinet. Okay, so all familiar names, nothing that's really going to move the market right there. Okay, Tuesday, AMD. All eyes are going to be on this one. Okay, this is our chip sector. Okay, the SMH has been in an uptrend. All right, and that's pretty much what's been getting us to these all-time highs because the financials were in a downtrend. Okay, so AMD, $685 billion right there, okay? Big part of AI are these graphics chips, all right? Not to mention, all right, the semiconductors. So this is a big part of AI as well as NVIDIA. Not quite as big as NVIDIA, all right? But they are growing day by day, all right? So all eyes are going to be on this Tuesday night. Merck and Company, $273 billion. Okay, that happens tomorrow morning. Mitsubishi Financial, $214 billion. Again, that looks like it may be a foreign company. All right, so they're not sure when they're going to report. They may report in the middle of the night. I don't know. Maybe in the middle of the trading day. I don't know. All right, they're still looking for the P&L as far as I can see so far. Pepsi, this is strange that they don't know that they're going to be reporting on the 3rd of February, all right? $210 billion. Okay, Pepsi's going to be one of those defensive stocks, okay? So after the market makes an all-time high, which it's already done, and say it just starts to commence to roll over, all right, while we're waiting for the next big uptrend to occur, there'll be a lot of money parked in Pepsi because it's safe. All right, people are always going to continue to buy Pepsi-Cola products. Okay, so that will be a defensive stock, and that plagues me why they don't have a sunburst or a moonlight there because that's usually not the case. All right, they pretty much know when they're going to report. All right, Amgen is going to report tomorrow night, 184 billion. Pfizer's going to report tomorrow day in the morning, 150 billion. Eaton Corporation, 136 billion in the morning with Pfizer, okay, and Merck. All right, then we got Chubb, 121 billion. They're going to report in the evening. Emerson Electric, 82 billion. Again, the rest are all just familiar names, but nothing really here that's going to move the markets, all right? The big one's going to be AMD. They're going to be all eyes on the semiconductors because they're the ones that have been providing the rally that we're in right now for the last 2 weeks, okay? So Wednesday, you can see we're going to have Google. It's going to report after the close. That's $8 trillion of market cap. That will be a market mover. Eli Lilly will not seem like a market mover at all compared to Google because Google will just probably dominate, I don't know what you want to call it, the conversation, okay? All right? It'll be a headliner. Lilly will definitely take second place, but all eyes are going to be on Google because it's got just a big piece of the market cap in the QQQ and the SPY, $8 trillion. All right, and then we got AbbVie, $394 billion. They're going to report in the morning. Toyota Motor Corp, again in one of those foreign countries, can't quite find the P&L, or maybe they have the P&L, they just don't know when they're going to report. Okay, so then Novartis, $293 billion. Novo Nordisk, $265 billion. Banco Santander, $214 billion. Uber Technologies, $166 billion. Qualcomm, that'll be an interesting one too, $161 billion. That reports in the evening. Okay, let's go back more for Wednesday. UBS, that's banking, 148 billion. Boston Scientific, 138 billion. ARM Holdings, 111 billion. GlaxoSmithKline, I'm pretty sure that's who it is, 104 billion. CME Corp, 104 billion. McKesson Corporation, 102 billion. And then that's it. Just again, more familiar names. None of these are going to be market movers. Of course, the headline is going to be Google, all right, and Eli Lilly, more than likely. Okay, Qualcomm will definitely, there'll be something written about Qualcomm, all right, because that's one of the important ones right there. All right, I'm just going to go that far today. That's it for me. I will see you all in about 30 minutes, and we'll open up the markets and record it live. All right, so I'll see you in 30 minutes. Thank you. Thank you, B. So B says TradingView shows PepsiCo as reporting tomorrow morning. Morning reporter in tomorrow morning. Okay, and that's for PepsiCo. That's back on Tuesday. Okay, so tomorrow morning. We'll see what happens. Thank you, B. All right, thank you, traders.